The Book of Numbers is the fourth book of the Bible, and it tells the story of the journey of the people of Israel through the wilderness, from Mount Sinai to the border of the Promised Land. Written by Moses, it spans a period of approximately 40 years, detailing the organization of the nation, the trials they faced, and God's instructions for his people. After leaving Egypt, the Israelites camped in the Sinai Desert, where God established laws and organized the tribes around the tabernacle. The book opens with a census commanded by God to count all the men fit for battle as Israel was preparing to enter and conquer Canaan. The total number came to 603,550 men, excluding women, children, and the tribe of Levi, which had a distinct priestly role. This census not only recorded the number of warriors, but also symbolized the order and identity of Israel as a nation set apart for God. The layout of the camp was carefully structured. The tabernacle stood at the center, surrounded by the tribe of Levi, who were responsible for religious duties. Around them, the 12 tribes were arranged in groups of 3, forming an organized system that ensured both order and protection. When God commanded the people to move, each tribe had a specific position. This structure reinforced discipline and obedience to God's divine command. Throughout their journey, the Israelites faced many challenges. They complained about the lack of food, so God sent manna from heaven to feed them daily. When they craved meat, God provided quail, but many were punished for their ingratitude. The manna symbolized the people's dependence on God as they had to gather it every day, trusting that He would meet their needs. In another moment, Miriam and Aaron questioned Moses' leadership, and Miriam was struck with leprosy for a time before being healed, demonstrating that Moses' authority had been granted by God Himself. When they reached Kadesh Barnea, at the edge of the Promised Land, Moses sent 12 spies to explore Canaan. 10 returned with a discouraging report, saying the land's inhabitants were giants and that Israel had no chance of defeating them. Only Joshua and Caleb trusted in God's promise and encouraged the people to move forward. However, fear spread among the Israelites, who rebelled against God and wished to return to Egypt. As punishment for their lack of faith, God decreed that entire generation would wander in the wilderness for 40 years until every adult who had doubted perished, and only their children would be allowed to enter the land. This extended period of wandering also served as a time of purification and preparation for the new generation who would inherit the promise. During this time, several key events marked their journey. One of the most serious rebellions came from Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, who challenged the authority of Moses and Aaron. They gathered 250 leaders to oppose the leadership God had established. In response, God caused the earth to open and swallow them alive, clearly showing that He had chosen Moses to lead Israel. Following this, God confirmed Aaron's priestly role by making his dry staff blossom with almonds, signifying that only the tribe of Levi was authorized to serve as priests. These events emphasized the need for obedience and respect toward the divine order God had set in place. Another significant episode was the water crisis at Meribah. Once again, the people complained about the lack of water. God told Moses to speak to a rock so that it would pour out water, but Moses, frustrated with the people, struck the rock twice with his staff. Though water flowed, Moses was punished for his disobedience and was told he would not enter the Promised Land. This incident shows that even the greatest leaders of Israel, like Moses, were held accountable for their actions before God. In the final phase of the journey, the Israelites began to conquer territories east of the Jordan River. They defeated powerful kings such as Sihon, king of the Amorites, and Og, king of Bashan. These victories were signs that God was giving the land to Israel. During this time, Balak, king of Moab, fearing Israel's progress, hired the prophet Balaam to curse them. However, God intervened, and instead of curses, Balaam proclaimed blessings over Israel, including a prophecy about a future ruler who would come from Jacob's lineage. This episode also includes the famous story of Balaam's talking donkey, a striking example of God's sovereignty, even over messengers who sought to harm his people. In addition to these events, the Book of Numbers includes laws regarding sacrifices, feasts, and community regulations. God established instructions for daily offerings, annual festivals, and spiritual commitments, ensuring that Israel remained faithful to his covenant. These laws reinforce the holiness of the people and their need to obey God's commands. Sacred observances like Passover and the Day of Atonement were constant reminders of the covenant between God and Israel. Another important aspect was the establishment of cities of refuge. God ordered that 6 cities be designated where people who committed unintentional manslaughter could seek protection. This legal system showed God's commitment to justice, ensuring that no one would be killed without a fair trial. These cities served as symbols of mercy and protection within Israelite society, illustrating the balance between justice and grace in God's law. In the final chapters, God instructed Moses on how to divide the promised land among the tribes. Specific rules were set to prevent the loss of family inheritance. The Israelites also received guidance on marriage and property within the tribes, as preserving tribal inheritance was essential for maintaining the nation's social and economic structure. The book ends with Moses ascending Mount Nebo, where God shows him the promised land, but informs him that he will not enter it. There, Moses passes leadership to Joshua, preparing Israel to conquer Canaan. Moses' death marks the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter in Israel's history, now under Joshua's command. The Book of Numbers is a detailed narrative of the trials and rebellions of the people of Israel, but also of how God guided them and prepared them for the Promised Land. It reveals both God's justice and mercy, teaching that obedience was essential for Israel to receive the blessings promised to Abraham. With its battles, laws, miracles, and challenges, this book records the transition between the generation that left Egypt and the one ready to finally take possession of the land God had promised to their ancestors. If this content helped you understand the Book of Numbers more deeply, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more insights into the great mysteries of the Bible. And now, the big question remains. What really happened to Moses after he was denied entry into the Promised Land? Did he simply vanish? Or is there something hidden in this story? In the next video, we'll uncover this mystery and reveal astonishing details about his final destiny. Don't miss it. Don't miss